Hi, my name is Skylar Davis, and I just want to talk a little bit about my life in foster care. It it definitely took a toll on on later life. Um, I don't exactly know where to begin. Um, I guess I'll start at the beginning. I was raised by a single mom, and my dad was in and out of prison um, for um, being drunk all the time, chasing after underage girls, and partying, assaults. Pretty much had every charge in the book. I think he even had. I think he even had attempted arson. About the only thing he didn't have, I'm pretty sure, is murder or attempted murder. Um, which honestly isn't saying much if you think about it. Um, I, like I said, I was raised by a single mom up until age 7. And one day, it was a year after my dad had passed away. Um, my mom had a meltdown and put me out on the porch, locked me out, and was getting ready to kill herself. And I I remember sitting on the porch crying. We were living in an apartment complex, and I had seen the manager driving by on her golf cart, and she asked me what was wrong, and I had told her, and she told me to stay there. And next thing I know, the police department had came, and they had separated me and my mother, and ended up calling um, the uh, Child Protective Services. And that night I went into foster care. Um, I went to a foster home. It was a pretty good one, but I didn't last long because, being 7 years old, I didn't think that they had very many foster homes, and I decided to tell a lie saying that they were abusive, thinking, well, I'd be able to go back to my mom. But turns out they just moved me, even though I had said it was a lie and I wanted to stay there, and I had admitted it was a lie, but they still moved me. Um, I moved to a different foster home, um, and stayed there for approximately a year. Um, and in that time, I had changed schools again. Um, so that was 2 homes, um, and 2 school changes within a year and a half of being in foster care. I went back to my mom's house on my 9th birthday, spending 14 months in foster care. 6 months later, I get put back in foster care. Um, and I start going through um, anger problems, depression, um, sadness. I get put in multiple foster homes. One foster home really was abusive. Um, all the foster homes I was in pretty much were very sheltering, as far as helping me to learn the skills necessary for later on in life. Honestly, I'm 22 years old right now, and only about, I'd say, 2 years ago did I actually learn the skill of, budgeting, and the skill of, making the financial decisions of, you know, how to, you know, um, pay rent and pay my cell phone bill and all that stuff. I had a rep payee for quite a few years before I finally was able to take over. Less than probably, what, 6 months ago. Um, it's it's hard for foster kids to learn the skills necessary, um, to be successful in life. I think I was lucky because of the fact that when I aged out of foster care, I had what was called developmental disability funding, um, to fall back on. So, yes, I'm still technically in foster care, but at the same time, I'm not. It's adult foster care, so completely different. Um, it's you have more independence, but at the same time, you're not living on your own. Um, I I don't know. There's so much. There's so much sacrifice that the parent has to make when the child gets put into foster care, but even more so that the child has to go through. They sacrifice their friends, their friendships, their school, their home. They sacrifice, the doctor they've learned to trust. They sacrifice everything just because their parent hurt them. I was fortunate enough to. I actually didn't think that I would have any foster parents that I felt truly loved me. I had some good foster families, don't get me wrong. But, you know, they were what felt like, the bare minimum for a family almost. Shall we say, kind of what pretty much, they provide the food, they provide the shelter and all of that. That was pretty much the bare minimum. Now, I've had some, families that didn't really hide their indifference towards me. And I've had some really crappy foster families that were very abusive, and um, I mean, they were physically abusive, emotionally abusive, mentally abusive. I mean, I could go on and on. But I was lucky enough to find one foster family when I was 16 in Cottage Grove that I felt like I was truly biological to them. And I asked them if I could start calling them mom and dad, and they agreed, and they started calling me son. And you know, I didn't last very long there. I let my guard down, and I had um, I had trusted this family more than anybody else. And that's hard to do for foster kids when you've been abused, or when you've been neglected, or when you get made a promise, and when you get told that you won't get hurt anymore, and that promise is broken. It it breaks it breaks that it breaks trust, and it's really hard for you to trust anybody ever again. I mean, it's hard for you to gauge the level of how much you can trust someone, and gauge the level of how much you can love someone, and how much you can let your guard down around someone. And not only when you get abused or neglected, or whatever as a kid, by your biological parents, but when you get um, when you get abused by foster parents, that's where all bets are off, and you're scared to ever let your guard down again. And when I did let my guard down, I ended up screwing up big time, and I self-sabotaged myself in that home. And I ended up getting taken out of the home. And for 6 years, I did not hear from these foster parents. And I had heard that they did not want to be foster parents anymore. And I found out that they still lived in Cottage Grove and stuff, so I tried everything in my power to contact them. I did background checks on them online, so that I could get their any phone numbers that I could, and I tried every phone number I could find to try and contact them again, because they were literally the only foster family that I felt that close to biologically. And they agreed to stay in touch with me, and we still are in touch, but it's extremely hard to like I said, it's extremely hard to let your your guard down and to trust and love someone, after you've been hurt so many times. And I mean, now that I've been, you know, in touch with these guys again, I wouldn't give them up for the world. I feel so glad that I was able to spend the time that I did with them. And I don't know. I just they've continued to give me excellent advice. They encouraged me to go to college. I enrolled myself into the community college here. I'm going to be going hopefully in the spring term. But there's not too many good foster families out there. Or rather, okay, so there's more bad foster families than there are good ones, because DHS, the child welfare people, they just need more and more families because of how many foster kids there are. And as much as I hated the foster care system, and as sheltered as I was from everything, and as much as I need to learn still, there needs to be more foster parents like these two, rather than the 8 or 10, foster families and people that I have met that do not deserve to be foster families, because they need the money, and just because DHS needs a place to put the kids. I guess that's why I started Project Foster Kids, is because I needed to, I felt I needed to, to help these kids, and to a certain extent I do, but I don't know how much I am doing. I don't know. I want to be able to do more to help these foster kids, but I can't. DHS shut me down from being a youth mentor to foster kids. They won't tell me why. One person will say it's because of my anger problems in the past. One person will say that it's because of the fact that I have mental health problems. One person says that he just wants me to be a junior mentor. The funny thing is about that is I passed every single training that all of the other mentors did. I don't know. Maybe I'm just rambling, but just help me. help me to get my story out there and help other foster kids too. By, you know, if you're really a good family, instead of doing it for the money, do it for the kids. Because honestly, these kids have already sacrificed enough. They don't need any more heartache, or, you know, they can't keep moving around from place to place to place to place. So if you have the room and if you have the love in your heart, I suggest you become a foster parent and help these kids.